I have been on a journey to be someone. And along the way, I learned the secrets. It's your friends, the people you choose to spend time with. My life, health, and wealth have been changed forever by the people around me. And now it's time for you to meet my friends. This is the Be Someone podcast with Michael Hoang. Welcome back to the Be Someone podcast. I'm Michael Hoang, and today we have Miss Kate Danese. Hello, Kate.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were having a great chat before we clicked the record button, and Kate has had like a really interesting history. And this is the first person we've ever had on the podcast that got started so far. That got started as a high producing agent and then running a team as a real estate agent. So let's jump right in, Kate. So tell us how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, thank you. I actually started as a single agent, a realtor for Keller Williams, I'll say, a large brokerage. And it wasn't until I got a coach, actually, that I tripled and doubled anything I ever could have imagined. And ever since then, I've been in love with coaching.
That is awesome. So you started as an agent, and then you grew to build out a team.
Yeah, so within 3 year time span, I started as a single agent. Then I went to sell 65 houses a year by myself with a transaction coordinator. And then within 3 years, we were selling 180 to 200 houses a year. Um, we had built out a team, and I was running and coaching agents to then go and sell property. I was fully out of production, which is like unheard of. People like strive their whole realtor career to get out of production. And I had done it within 3 years. And I give all of the credit to the coaches that I had along the way.
That is amazing. How so when you were selling like 100 plus houses a year with just a TC, a transaction coordinator, how many agents were helping you with that? Was that all you?
No, they over time we had brought in someone for like operations, someone for marketing, etc. So over time we acquired more people on staff. Um, but we had probably about three real producing agents that were bringing us those deals.
Wow. Even when you said you were selling 65 houses a year, that's still like more than a house a week. That is
Yeah,
insane.
and it was from 0 to 65, right? Like, well, I was selling around 16 a year. Then I got a coach. Then we went from 16 to 65, and I was like losing my mind. I didn't know what to do.
What year was this and where was this?
This was probably 2018. I started that trajectory and all in New Jersey.
All in New Jersey. And is it still New Jersey, mostly New Jersey to this day, where your business is, or are you?
So since then I've lived a long life. I then transitioned and we started a because why would you successfully build one company when you could run the same models over and over. So I took the same models that I grew the real estate team when we were selling 200 houses a year. I wasn't paying for any ads or marketing. It was all 67% of my business was referral base. So
Wow.
I took the same models that I learned running that and I brought it over to a transaction coordination company and a coaching company. And, here we are now coaching coaches. So now I've sort of gotten out of all of that. And now I've been coaching other people that want to monetize their expertise and build out a online coaching company.
Okay, so you started as an agent, then you built a team as an agent. You're all over the place. So I got to fault. Like you've had a crazy career. You said you've had a long life since then. That was seven
Yeah,
years ago.
I know. I like
Uh,
put a goal in mind and then just hit it pretty quickly, I guess. I mean, once
yeah,
you understand the model and the formula to do what you want to do, right? We were talking about this earlier. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent was a significant book for me in the beginning of my career. I learned the four basic the four models on how to run any company. And you really can extract those models and run any company successfully with them. So that's just what I've done on repeat and help others do the same thing.
Yeah, the Millionaire Real Estate Agents, great book. I have it on the shelf behind me here, and one of my mentors early on told me to read that book because I started as an investor. I didn't start as an agent, but he said you read that book and you replace the word real estate agent with real estate investor, and it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like every company needs the four basic models for anybody that hasn't read it are, I call them basic. They're actually not basic. They take a while to understand, but there's the lead generation model. How are you going to attract leads and clients? Every business needs that, right? There's a budget model. How and who are you going to pay at what percentages, and how are you keeping your 40% profit? That exists in every company. There's an organizational model. Every company needs that, right? Who's in charge and the descendants. Um, and an economic model, which essentially is just you reverse engineering your goal, right? So if you want 100 deals or whatever, if you want to sell 100 shoes, how many appointments do you need to meet with clients that want to try on shoes in order to sell them 100 pair by the end of the year? And, so on and so on.
that's right. The principles of business are kind of universal. I
Yeah.
found that too from my W-2 job that I had in the past in corporate America, and then applying a lot of that over to being a real estate investor. The principles are all the same. And so, tell me about when you became an agent. Tell me about before you had the big team and you had all the referrals coming in. How did you start finding leads as an agent in the early days, if you can recall, because it was a lifetime ago?
It was a lifetime ago. All of my businesses have always started out with referrals. So I will literally make a list of my sphere, right? The people that I know. Um, and then I will make another list, and I will make a list of who would be the best, like what is my avatar for my business, and who matches that avatar that I already know, or who has an audience with my ideal avatar. And then from there, everything's a relationship, right? So in my coaching company, I started out with my ideal avatar, and then I joined a mastermind with my ideal avatar and became a service provider within that mastermind. So I didn't pay for any marketing, I didn't pay for any ads.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of your growth came from finding the right mentors at the right time. And we've talked about this before on the show, but we had someone who grew a wholesaling business, but he had been in the business for 12 years and he's doing insane volume right now. And along the way, as his business grew, he hit plateaus. And then what got him up to the next level was changing up his business a little bit, changing some of his lifestyle, learning new skills. But it was almost always centered around getting coaching or a mentor or partnering with the right people. And so, can you tell us how bringing the right people into your business took you to the next level?
Oh my God, it's like my favorite topic. When you have success, everybody wants to know what you did or what you do to get there. And a lot of people leave out their coach. But I'm very clear that that is what helped me. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. And all of the coaches that I've had have always really, I've had some bad coaches, by the way. I've had coaches that didn't align with me, I'll say. I don't know if they were good or not. They didn't work for me. But the ones that have, they are able to see a gift in you that maybe you're not aware of yet, or you don't know how to extract it out of yourself yet. And a good coach or a good mentor extracts it out of you. That's that's what I'll say on that.
A good mentor brings things out of you, qualities you may have already had inside of you.
Yeah.
And so when you went about recruiting agents when you were building your team, how difficult was that? Where did you find agents? I interviewed somebody earlier in the month, and he actually builds out. He has a huge team of hundreds of agents for EXP, and he had a very interesting way he did it, which was all through SEO and websites and content marketing. And so I want to see how that contrasts with you when you were recruiting agents. How did you find agents that were a good fit for your team?
Well, Michael, I didn't do any of that because that would fall under paid ads and advertising and fancy marketing, which that's not my MO. um, all of it is always through, like, my answer is always through relationships and organic growth. So, let's see. We would get a lot of people through, I did a lot of trainings at our brokerages. I ran a young professionals group. So because I was in like those leadership type of positions, it was pretty easy to gain attraction. And then it was really like, who's a good fit, who's not a good fit. And I mean, we were doing 200 deals a year. We did not have a lead problem. That's interesting, actually. Most people don't have a lead problem, they have a lead conversion problem. So that's a whole other topic, but
Yeah, we were
we got
talking. Go ahead.
no, yeah, we got our agents mostly through like organic recruiting, and we were pretty lucky. Like, a lot of agents stayed with us for a while, so it wasn't like a constant search. We weren't looking to grow hundreds of agents.
I see. And were you bringing them leads, or were they going out generating their own leads?
A little bit of both, right? So we, again, we didn't pay for leads. However, we did get a lot of leads from our listings, and we did have a lot of listings.
Wow. Okay. So really organic growth there. Really the definition of organic growth.
67%, but who's tracking?
And
Yeah.
then somewhere along the way, you became a real estate investor, right?
Yeah. Along the way, I was doing flips, like maybe two a year, so nothing significant. I mean, I was running a team that was doing 200 units a year, so we were very busy. That was like my primary focus. And we were profitable, which I'll say most teams are not profitable. We ran off of the millionaire real estate budget at 40% profitability. Um, and so, yeah, I was doing, I would say like two flips a year, like on the side, um, in New Jersey.
In New Jersey. So, um, is there any unique challenges when it comes to flipping houses in New Jersey? Is it difficult with permits? Does it, like, how long is a typical flip in New Jersey? I know you haven't flipped in all these other states, so you might not have a good way to give an example, but just tell me some about some of the unique challenges you had flipping in New Jersey.
Um, well, I didn't do it at mass scale like we know some other people that do it on mass scale. I would say it's very rural where I was from in New Jersey. I'm in Florida now. Um, so lots of country, and you have to account for private sewer, septic, and well in New Jersey, which most other places you don't have to account for that. And New Jersey is notorious for failed septic systems, meaning you wouldn't be able to get a mortgage on it. So when you're going to look for a flip in New Jersey, you have to make sure that you're either staying away far and clear from the properties that have a private septic tank on them that you would have to repair or replace for, on estimate, $10,000 a bedroom. So if you're flipping a three-bedroom home, that's a $30,000 septic. Um, and you have to replace it in order to sell it to a conventional buyer. So we stayed away from properties like that, but everything else was a full gut. I've never done like a cosmetic flip. I've always, for whatever reason, done it the hardest way with a full gut of the entire house.
That's awesome. So yeah, I haven't heard of I haven't heard of the issue with the private sewers down here. I'm in Houston, Texas, and a lot of our stuff is connected to city water. I'm investing in the city. Um, I never thought about that. So private septic tanks, they want an inspect. So I'm guessing that the bank wants an inspection of that.
Yeah. Um, it's notorious in New Jersey specifically because I guess a couple of years ago, or probably longer than that now, they changed their requirements in New Jersey. And so a lot of the septic tanks failed because of that. So now they're in this transition of replacing all of them to bring them up to code and standard. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a problem in every state, but New Jersey specifically.
Did they go to the Robic system? Is that what happened?
They there's like three different kinds. There's like this mound system, which is nothing but sand. Yeah, it's that
Oh
was the
wow.
most popular kind.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed down here in Texas at some point because I haven't done investment rural markets. I haven't done like mobile homes or manufactured homes, which is usually where you find private septic here. But I noticed at some point they switched from septic tanks to like a aerobic system where they use bacteria and other magic to process the waste on site, and then it has a sprinkler system where it distributes it on your lawn as clean
Oh,
water. Yeah, and so
wow.
now yeah, so that is popular here in Texas in rural markets. Again, I've never installed one, I've never had one, I've never flipped a house with one, but just somewhere along the way, they said down here in Texas, when you're building, I guess, new manufactured homes or rural properties, you have to go for the aerobic system. Aerobic system? I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Um,
Interesting. No, that wasn't too popular in New Jersey.
yeah,
But to your point, flipping and or investing is different in every single state, and that's definitely something to be aware of if a lot of your listeners are investors.
yeah. And so you were flipping. How are you finding the properties that you flipped?
I mean, agents, I think, are an investor's best friend, right? Like, also, agents have no idea. Like, if I have a, let's say, crappy property or a distressed property, um, a conventional buyer is not going to be able to buy it. So I'm looking for a cash buyer, an investor, right? So I would find a lot of mine on the MLS because I was on there every single day.
So you were finding flips that made sense as a full gut rehab right on the MLS.
Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of hard to come by, at least in my experience down here. Although full disclosure, I haven't really looked really hard, so I don't know. They could be right under my nose.
They probably
Um,
are. We make things much more complicated than they need to be as entrepreneurs.
yeah, and so do you remember like what is? I don't know anything about New Jersey. Do you remember like what the average purchase price was when you were buying a flip? Like what you were paying for it?
Oh God, yeah. So I ended up in this I did a few in this town where you could buy houses for like $50,000 and renovate for like 10, and we would sell them for 125, 130.
Whoa.
So I did a few of those. And our average home sale price uh, where I lived was around 350. So we had other sections that would bring us down, like the town I just referred you to, and the average. But yeah,
That is insane. So, me being born and raised in Texas, when you say New Jersey, I'm imagining half million, $1 million, shacks that you live in because anybody who thinks about like the Northeast, they think of very high cost of living, small houses. So
yeah.
you found markets where you could buy for around 50, put 10,000 into it and sell it for 125,000.
Yeah, it depends. Some we put 10 in, some we put 30 in, but at the end of the day, they were all selling for like 125, 130.
That is really good margin. And what years were that when you were actively doing that?
Probably like 2020, maybe.
Oh, that was going on as recently as 2020. Wow.
Yeah, 2019, 2020. Um, I also started buying down in the Tampa Bay area where I am now when I was still full time up there. This was 6 years ago before Airbnb was even a thing. I was like, I selfishly want to buy a house in Florida because I literally despise the winter up north. And I was like, let me buy one. Let me throw it on Airbnb, whatever that is. And let me see what happens. Best investment I've ever done. I bought the house for, how much did I buy that house for? $135,000, 10 minutes to the beach, not in a flood zone. $135,000. I rented that thing out on Airbnb. It was occupied fully for like 4 or 5 years, and I recently just sold it for 400 and roughly $25,000. I didn't do a thing to it though. I didn't even paint it.
Wow. And it
But then I have like, yeah,
stayed rented on Airbnb that whole time?
yeah. Before
Wow.
Airbnb was even cool. Like, could you imagine I don't know how long. Have you ever done short-term rentals?
No, I have not, but I know it was very hot from 2020 to 2023. I know people are still doing it now. I know people who do it to this day, but they've told me it's a bit more challenging now.
Yeah, it's completely different now, which is why I sold it. I literally want nothing to do with any more rentals ever again. I'm actually in the process of selling all of my rentals. I've like had a change of heart about the rentals and real estate investing, but that's my personal opinion. But um, yeah, I've dipped in a lot of different segments in real estate and real estate investing for sure.
Yeah, so I love rentals, and I've been selling rentals recently. And every rental I sell, I have money to go do two, three, four more properties each time I do it. And I'm just addicted to turning over the equity, man. If you buy and rehab a house, lease it out, and put a renter in there and just hold it for 3, 4, 5 years, it's like a forced savings account for me that appreciates faster than the stock market or faster than if I would keep my money in the bank. So I'm still doing
Totally.
single family rentals, but I'm in a mentorship program now for multifamily, and so I might start buying small multifamily this year, next year, as I've been doing education and getting certifications and learning about how that works. So you had in Florida, you only did one short-term rental, or did you do other
No,
properties?
of course not, Michael. Why would I only do anything, 1%? I ended up having like 10 at a time. And that's really when my head was about to fall off. And, you know, I was like, we're done with this.
And and all of them were in the Tampa area.
Yeah.
Wow, you had 10 short-term rentals in the Tampa area,
Yeah.
and you
Some
managed them
I,
yourself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, did you manage them yourself or did you
No,
hire a management company?
I had a local property management company, where there's only like one or two guys there. Um, but I mean, like, still, even at they say the hardest, because we're obviously friends with real estate investors, they say the hardest is to manage around 10 to 12 at a time before you can really just hand it off to a property manager and let them full time manage it. So I didn't make it over the hump. I was like, this is not for me. I never even want a tenant to call me on one property again. So my next investment will be businesses instead of houses, specifically probably the people that I coach, right? I find that much more fulfilling.
I see. Yeah, I was taught when I started in real estate and buying rental properties, I was taught when you buy one, you're on a race to buy at least 10, or depending on the market you're in and what the rents are, that number can be smaller, can be higher, because you want to get it big enough to either A, hand it over to a property management company, or B, build your own property management company, because it gets less passive the more it scales. And so, depending on where you're at and how large the rent is and how much revenue you're generating, I was told when you buy one, prepare to buy 10 so you can run it and treat it like a real business.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and so I would also just tell people that, like, do not buy one rental house and sit on it. It's just not enough revenue to hand off to somebody else, and the problems that happen if you're turning over property once a year, once every other year, you're not good at it. Like, imagine if you go to the gym once a year, you're not going to be able to lift anything.
Right.
So I always just tell people new that are starting out, like, whatever it is you want to do, if you want to flip one house, if you want to buy rentals, if you want to wholesale, we're not doing one. We're not doing one a year. We're going
Yeah.
to work out these muscles, and we're going to get you systems and processes in place where you can um, do this with perfection every single time. And
Yes.
so you're selling, or selling or have sold a lot of your rentals. And then somewhere along the way, you told me before we started that you started coaching people on how to become investors.
Yeah. So, you're right. At some point, how I started my coaching consulting business was coaching other real estate investors, actually. Um, at a high level, they already had businesses up and running. They were selling, let's say 100 wholesale deals a year or more, or they were flipping 100 houses a year or more. And they were looking to scale their operation with systems and processes and lower their acquisition cost and increase their profitability. So I took the same principles that I did for my retail team, and I coached them on that. And then, like every great entrepreneur, it's like, what's next? Once you get your company, to a stable plateau, some people don't want to bring it to the next level and sell 200 wholesale deals a year. They're good with 100. They just want to stabilize it and get themselves out in an owner box seat. And so, what is the next thing for them? And 9 times out of 10, it's been opening and starting an education and coaching company, how teaching other people how to invest in real estate. So I'm still coaching that same entrepreneur. The business has just changed. So I'm coaching them now over here to run an education company.
So you started by coaching people how to become investors, and then along the way, you started coaching them on how to um, educate other people who wanted to become investors.
Yep.
You This is quite the evolution that you went,
I'm
starting from
telling you,
being an agent.
I move quick. Yeah.
And so when you're building these businesses, do you hire staff? Do you put systems and processes in place? Do you use virtual assistants? How do you manage the workflow as you're scaling a business?
So I do have to say that I've gotten rid of like the team and, a lot of my rentals. So a lot of that's off my plate. But every company that I have scaled, the quickest and easiest thing is to leverage, right? The lower hanging fruit activities. So I love to leverage. I love systems and models because that's how you can leverage and trust that the same thing will get done time over time. Um, and I love staying in the income producing activities. As the entrepreneur running the business, right? That's what we all should be doing. And so, what is taking up your time that's not income producing? And how quickly can you create a system to leverage it out?
Yeah, I love that. I always tell people that every quarter, well, for me, it was quarterly. For other people, it could be monthly. But for me, every quarter, I want to automate, delegate, or eliminate at least one thing off my plate. And it's always moving me closer to those revenue producing activities. Um, like, you don't need to be cutting your own lawn. You don't need to be filling out forms for things. Anything that's like less. I've talked to people before, and I sit down with them and I figure out how much money they earn as either a real estate investor or an agent, and you quickly do the calculations and you learn that they're like a $500 an hour person,
Yeah.
sometimes more.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, like, anything less than that. I mean, anything less than $25 an hour, you should not be doing yourself. You can hire
Yeah.
VAs for $5 to $9 an hour, virtual assistants overseas that will do all your paperwork for you. You can have executive assistants for under 20. I've heard of executive assistants for under $25 an hour here in the US. I pay someone to cut my lawn. Um, and I even have worked with people who they pay a company to provide them meal preps and cook their meals for them because they were spending 2 days a week just cooking for themselves. And then when they didn't have time to cook, what were they doing? They were ordering DoorDash and they were getting unhealthy food. And so they ended up doing the math and realized it was really cheap for them to just order their food through a meal prep company that would have nice, healthy meals. So you can automate, eliminate, and delegate in the business, and that's specific to your business. You'd have to sit down and look at your process and figure out what you need to do. But there's also things in your life that you can automate, eliminate, or delegate. My next one that I want to do is laundry. Like, why are me and my wife taking turns doing laundry? I want to get that out because that takes up like a whole day on the weekend.
And
Um,
people like underestimate their value for energy, right? Like everything takes energy and you only get so much in the day. So, why in the world would you spend your time doing laundry in this example when you can be going out and growing a company to sell for, 10 times as much in 3 years? Like it just, when you look at it like that, I think it's like a perspective change too. Like a lot of people, and so why don't people do that? Because they don't value their time because they haven't thought about it, or they're afraid of the other person not doing it as well.
Yeah, I love that thing about energy because I'm married, but I don't have children yet. And God willing, we will have children soon. And I think about like how precious my energy is and what I need to protect that for. And it's definitely not cutting the grass, or it's definitely not filling out a form to ship something. That is not where we do best. Even my email, my inbox. If you email me, I can see it. It goes to my phone, but I have an assistant handle all of that stuff. And so
Yeah.
your energy is precious, your time is not infinite. And I understand when you're starting out and you're new and you have to be scrappy, you have to do everything yourself. I would also tell people anything that you want to delegate or automate, you have to know how to do it first.
Yeah.
And so everything in my business that I've handed off to somebody else, I've learned how to do it. I built the systems and processes, and then I taught someone how to do it.
Yeah.
Or you can even build little training modules. I have informal training modules for my business where I screen record, turn on my microphone, and I show someone how to do the task, and I keep that recorded. And then when somebody asks, "How do we do this?" Bam, you just shoot them that little video. And it makes life 1,000 times easier. You can use Loom. Have you ever used Loom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
browser extension called Loom. It's free, and you can record your camera, your microphone, and your screen. And
Sometimes
just
I just literally do it on my phone too. I'll like screen record my phone. I just did that yesterday. That's why I thought of it. And I'll send it off to a VA. And it's like, this is exactly what I'm looking for you to do, right? Like this process. But I think, Michael, you're right. You have to do it yourself so you are able to create the system, which is the step that everybody wants to skip over. And then once you create the system, it's you're just holding that person accountable to follow that system. And that's holding the integrity of the work together to produce the same result over and over again. But when you want to skip creating the system, then that's when people find the results are not the same and then they're unhappy and then they're like, I can never delegate that task. And it's like, no, you just didn't do it right the first time. You absolutely can delegate the task, I promise. And it's like the sense of giving up control.
Yeah, I had some problems with giving up some control early on, but now my life runs so smoothly. I'm like, please take this off of my plate.
And then you'll never go back, right? Like, so back to my coach and how impactful a coach was to my business. I've never had an employee or anyone. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to put up a job description. I didn't have a job description. I didn't know how to write one. The thought of doing any of that when you're running around selling 65 houses a year is just like awful. Like, I don't want to slow down to do any of that. I'll just do it all myself. And I was like, literally, I had a mental mini breakdown at the point, and I was like, I literally can't do this anymore. And he was like, when are you going to hire a transaction coordinator? I didn't even have a TC yet. And I
Wow.
was like, well, then I'm going to have to like give up all this control and give up the $400 or whatever TCs were a couple of years ago, give up $400 a transaction when I can just do it myself. Now I'm like, I don't even know how to sign in a dot loop. And I shouldn't. I absolutely should not know how to sign in a dot loop. I should never send you paperwork ever in my entire life. My TC or admin or EA should do it. It's not making me money. Sending you paperwork's not making me money.
That's right. But you had to learn how to do it first. And once you understand it and you could teach it to somebody else, you hand it off and you never do it again.
I'm not even good at paperwork. I'm a salesperson, right? Like, I'm good at sales, okay? I'm not good at paperwork. You don't want me doing yours. Yeah, so while my EA or, at whoever at the time is doing the paperwork, the non-income producing activities, I'm out creating more conversations, creating more revenue for the company.
Yeah, so that in itself is a form of leverage. When I got started as a real estate investor, when we said the word leverage, what we meant is a loan, leveraging other people's money. But when you get deeper into the study of real estate and business, you learn that leverage comes in many forms. Leverage is not just using a loan or using someone else's money. It's also using other people's time, other people's expertise. It's using software. It's using all sorts of systems to leverage. I think I read a quote one time, and I don't remember who said it, so I'm just going to say Abraham Lincoln said it. So I'm giving Abraham Lincoln every quote I can't remember. I think it was a Greek philosopher that said, "Give me a lever large enough, and I can move the whole world." And so,
Mm,
anyone who is a millionaire, a decamillionaire, a billionaire, all they're doing is learning how to build and maintain systems of leverage. And you don't have to be in a real estate business using mortgages in order for you to use leverage. There's leverage all around us. So uh, I just want to expand the mind of people listening today and understand what leverage really means. And so,
I
have
like
you
that.
sold a business yet, or do you plan on selling a business, or do you want to just keep things forever?
No. Um, I don't think I want to keep things forever. I think there's an evolution for everything and one. I think everybody grows out of things as well. Um, I haven't formally sold and gone through the selling of a business. I've like wound businesses down. Um, yeah, I think my next chapter would be to grow a business and to formally sell it.
Yeah, I've never sold a business before, but I've thought about that many times. I in my old corporate life, we would buy small businesses of people who wanted to retire and then roll them into our bigger businesses. And a surprising number of people just shut down their business when they get older. They
Yeah.
don't try to sell it. They don't try to monetize it. This doesn't matter what widgets they're making. They think who would actually want this. But the reality is, whatever you have that works, that's profitable, every process is a product, and everyone's looking to buy what you do. And so you don't have to make widgets on a factory line in order to sell it. So have you explored, and it's okay if you haven't, have you explored selling businesses, like what kind of multiples you can get on revenue yet? Or are we not there yet? We're still just building.
No, we're still building, but I will tell you that I know enough that you can't really sell a real estate team, which is why I'm not doing it anymore. And you can sell a coaching and education company. So for everyone that's in the I'm going to build my real estate business and thinks that they're going to sell it, they probably aren't, and they're probably not going to sell it for the multiple that they may think. But something like the education coaching space, you can actually sell for a significant amount. There's more value held by an education company.
I see. So let's go back to your education business where you coach coaches in the real estate investing space.
Yeah.
Um, how did you get your first client that came to you and said, "I want you to teach me how to teach other people"?
You know what's really interesting? My very first client, again, all accidental, and I think that's like how some of the best things are created. I saw someone in the real estate investing space, I won't mention names, doing in a position that was not what he was made for or created for. And he had a higher power to go and do something else, I'll say, coach specifically. And I was like, when are you going to go do this? And he's like, I don't know how. All the reasons that one would not start a coaching business. And I'm like, what if I coach you to do it? It's like not that hard, right? Because I've already been doing it. So I coached him, and then that just right, like he referred me to another person, and then that person referred me, and so here we are. So to answer your question, my very first client, I actually sought him out accidentally and was like, "You're not living in alignment and or to your highest potential use. Like, how do we go and create what you're made for?" So I saw something in him before he saw it in himself, and we grew it.
So again, organically, you organically grew the team when you were an agent, and you're organically growing the
Yeah.
education business that you're running now. So, how many students have you had so far?
So I'll talk about my like three highly successful students, I'll say, my like pillar students. Um, One actually left. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about numbers, but I'll talk about them and we can bleep them out if necessary. Um, One client left a W-2 position in a real estate investing company and went out and grew a coaching company. He made $17,000 in his first 30 days.
Wow.
Another client had been coaching actually in the real estate investing space, and we grew a scalable model. He was currently not in a scalable model, he was doing one on one. And we grew his group coaching to 30,000 in the first 60 days. And another client went to go on and teach. He started, he coaches how he started getting out of his 9 to 5 by wholesaling real estate within the first 60 days. So that's what he goes out and coaches other people. And he's, he made $30,000 in the first probably 60 to 90 days, I'd say.
Wow. So
All without paid marketing or paid leads or anything.
it just grew it organically.
Yeah, we're very strategic, right? It's like we're strategic, but we're not spending money on like I don't know how to create a website. I don't know how to create a funnel. Nothing. I think there's a time and place for that stuff, but you need to get to a certain point first through organic growth. I think it could be achieved, and then the other, the scalable model would be getting paid ads and leads.
And so, if your clients are finding coaching students, real estate coaching students, organically, what methods have you told them to try that have really worked with them finding clients?
I like that question. Um, so similar to how I mentioned earlier, how I started my coaching company, I found a mastermind that had my ideal avatar, and I joined that mastermind as a service provider. And so, like, where are your ideal clients, and then go there and be a service to them, right? So a lot of the people that coach real estate, right, the easiest place is they either host their own mastermind locally, like a local meetup, or they go to the local like RIAs. And so that's a very basic example, and there's larger scales to do that, but that's where, that's one example of how to attract clients organically.
So, no paid marketing, no funnels, tunnels, seminars, and webinars, as a friend of ours likes to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why I resonate so well with that because it's how I've grown everything previously.
Yeah. And so one client did 17,000 in their first month, if I remember correctly. Another one
Yeah.
did 30,000 in 2 months, which is about 15,000 a month. That's more than most people make um, in their jobs, in their W-2s. And you
Yeah.
showed them how to do that. In what amount of time did it take for them to get? You told me one of them was 60 days and the other one was 30 days, right?
Yeah, the 17,000 was in 30 days. The 30,000 was in 60-ish days. There was two for 30,000. The other one, I would say, he had a baby right in the middle of us coaching. So I want to say it took him a little bit more than 60 days. So I'll say under 90 days.
Under 90 days. Wow. And are they still coaching today?
Yeah, that's all been within the last 6 months.
Oh, this is wow, 6 months. Wow.
Yeah. So very active. I mean, we are very fortunate within the people that we know where they're doing it at a high level. They're doing these things at a high level. So you're able to gain attraction, I think, very easily when you're doing what you're coaching or teaching at a high level as well.
And they're not doing any social media marketing. They're not putting stuff on their social media to get people's attention. They're doing it from in-person meetups.
So that was just one example. Organically posting is a strategy, but nothing paid. So they're not
Nothing
paying
paid.
for leads to go on their calendar to get appointments to sell a $10,000 package to or whatever.
I see. That is awesome. And I would ask you how much you charge for the service, but I know the price is going to go up over time as
Yeah.
as your company grows and as you get more students and as your time becomes
Yeah.
more valuable. So we want this to be evergreen. So I won't ask you what you charge for that service. But what I will do is say if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they contact you?
I think my name is Kate Danese on all social media platforms, so that makes it easy. And then in there, like any of the platforms, direct message. I took back over control of all of that. I did leverage it out at one point to VAs and marketing managers, but I've taken it all back. So it'll be me you're talking to.
Awesome. And so I want to move to the next segment of the show. What has real estate given you the freedom to do?
Oh my God, I think it's been the best avenue possible for me to learn business, right? Like we talked about earlier. I learned so much throughout real estate because I ran it like a company. And I'm very grateful for that.
Wow. And it also, you got to move down to Florida, right? And you got away from the winters you despise, as you said.
Who would ever choose to be cold? I have no idea. Yeah, that was actually the coaching and consulting company that I had gave me the power and leverage to, work remote from home and be able to move. So I'm grateful for that too.
Okay. And I like to tell people that we're always on a course in life, whether we realize it or not. Usually it's a course that your parents set you up for, or your job, or your community, or your college that you went to school in, if you went to college, that we're on a course in life. And our course gets changed by events in our life. And for most real estate investors I talk to, our course gets changed usually by a book. And so, what book changed the course in your life the most?
Ooh, I love that. Um, what book changed my life to essentially get out of real estate?
Or get into real estate, get out of real estate? Like, what book did you read that were like, okay, I'm making some changes in my life?
Um, so I'll mention one book, obviously The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I think even if you're not an agent, like you said earlier, like just replace agent with whatever you do. There's 4 models in there. Study those models. You'll learn how to run any business profitable. Um, that book significantly changed and taught me everything that I could ever want to know for a very long time in business. Um, the second book that I reference all of the time is by Louise Hay, and it's You Can Heal Your Life. And it's a total switch up out of the real estate investing conversation or business. Um, but essentially, it's the spiritual meaning behind any sickness, disease, ailment. and it's all about reprogramming your thoughts. Um, and yeah,
You can
I strongly believe in that book. So,
you can heal your life. I've never
yeah,
heard of
You
that
Can
one
Heal Your
before.
Life by Louise Hay. Essentially, it says, like, people walk around very unconscious. Um, Unconscious meaning you're not thoroughly aware, you're just sort of like going through the motions, right? um, 95% of our day is unconscious. And so when people get sick, they're like, oh, I just have a cold because it's winter. No, you don't have a cold because it's winter. And this book tells you why you have a cold, essentially. It's like the deeper rooted meaning behind your sickness or ailment.
Yeah, I've never heard of that book. I'm going to put it on my list now. I love when guests bring me books I've never heard of before.
Yeah, I went down a very deep dive into spiritual and self development along the way, and this was one of the books that I reference on a regular basis. So,
That's awesome. So, and here we really love The Go Giver. It's a book most real estate investors have read. I'm a real big believer in The Go Giver. And so I like to remind the audience all the time that when you were born, your parents gave to you long before you were ever able to give back. And when you work a normal job, a normal corporate job, you typically work 2 weeks or more before you get your first paycheck. And so I like to remind people that if you're standing with firewood in your hand in front of the fireplace and you're saying, give me warmth first, and then I'll give you wood, it's going to be a very cold winter. So I always ask every guest on every episode, what can you give the audience today?
I love that. You have really good pitches or whatever you call leading up tos. um, I think that I can give a template guide, a free guide on how anybody could start to think about how they can organically grow their company, no matter what their company is. So if anybody wants to DM me on social media, organic growth, I can send you over the template or the guide.
And that's on Instagram, Facebook, that's everywhere, right?
Anywhere. Name's the same on all of them.
Awesome. And then what can our audience give you in return?
Ooh. Um, well, I love referrals, Michael. So I guess anyone that may know of somebody that's looking to monetize their expertise and grow an online coaching company, I'd love to have a conversation with them.
That's awesome. And does it have to be in the real estate space?
No, no.
So it's just like in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. And then I'll ask again, where can people find you?
Yeah, my name should be Kate Danese on everything. So KateDanese. Um, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the main ones.
The main ones. Yeah,
TikTok
and
for
you
now, anyway.
and you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Michael B. Someone on Instagram. And I'm also on all platforms, but if you could just follow one thing for me, please do it on Instagram at Michael B. Someone. If you'd like the book list of the books that we mentioned here today and many others, there's a link in my bio. Anybody can click to get my reading list. And I also give out my cell phone number on every podcast. I haven't regretted it yet, so guys, please don't make me regret it so
Oh, wow.
far. Yeah. It is 832-310-9672. Do not call me. I get 100 spam calls a day. Please text me. Any questions you have or any resources that we can point you in the right direction to, um, give me a text if you have any questions. Um, and Denise, thank you so much for coming on. And we did this kind of short notice, so I appreciate you making time for this. Denise and I are in a mastermind together, and so we've got a chance to talk and meet on several different occasions. So it was really great having you today, Denise.
Thank you so much.
All right. And I'm Michael Hoang for the Be Someone podcast. Go out there and be someone today.